Let me welcome you to African Motives. Today, I want us to look at life orientation, grade 11, term 2 revision. Term 2 revision. So, we are going to prepare ourselves with the question paper that was written in Amatule East District. And Amatule East District is found in Eastern Cape Province. So the paper that we are going to prepare ourselves with, it was written in 23 May 2024. That is the task 2, a control test. So without wasting much time, let us be on instructions and information. So here are our instructions and information. And you are to go through these instructions. They are very important. So make sure that grade 11s, you go through the instruction. So for the sake of time, allow me to quickly go to the business of today, whereby we are now going to uh, discuss or treat the questions that are going to help us to fully go for term 2 examination well prepared. So here I am on the question 1 section A. Question 1 section A. It says answer all the questions in this section. So it simply says section A is a compulsory section. Also, section B is a compulsory section. You'll see when you go through the instructions. Please don't ignore those instructions. So, question 1, it says various options are provided as possible answers to the following question. Choose the answer and write only the letter A to D next to the question number. That is 1.1.1 to 1.1.5, the answer book. And there is a given example there, 1.1.6D. So 1.1.1 says, which of the following is an example of environmental issues? Which one of the following is an example of environmental issues? We are given four options, and we are to come up with the correct answer. As we can see, we are given depletion of natural resources, construction of RDP housing, a teenage pregnancy, substance abuse, and the correct answer there is A. The correct answer is A, depletion of natural resources. As you know, when you're talking about depletion of natural resources, we are talking about an environment issue that affects nature and ecosystem. So depletion of natural resources means using up resources like water, forest, or mineral faster than they can be replaced. For example, cutting down forest, that is deforestation, without replacing trees. So that is that. 1.1.12, which of the following is absolutely necessary in the restoration of a broken relationship? In the restoration of a broken relationship. And we are given A, aggression, B, betrayal, C, we are given communication, and D is understanding. And the correct answer there is C, communication. Communication is the correct answer. We know very well that communication is essential, very important to fix a broken relationship because people need to talk openly and express their feelings and resolve misunderstanding. That is that. That is when two friends, for example, or who argued, sit down honestly and discuss what went wrong. So that's that. So let us be on 1.13, the rule of law. The rule of law means that the country will be governed by. Then we are given four options like the first one, the rulers and leaders of the country. The second one, the prosecutors and the judges of the country. The third, decisions made by the local council. And the fourth, the constitution and the laws of the country. And the correct answer is the fourth one, D. D is the correct answer because it's all about the constitution and the laws of the country. We know the rule of law means everything, including leaders, must follow the law. The country is governed by legal rules, not individuals. So even if the president breaks the law, he or she as well can still be taken to court. That is that. 1.1.4, the following is not a good. It's not a good practice when answering questions in the exam. Then you're given structure, your answers, keep the track of time, make sure you understand the question. Read the question once. So D is the correct one. Read the question once is not a good practice when you are answering the question in the exam. So reading questions only once is not a good practice. You may misunderstand them. Good practice to read carefully, even more than once. So, for example, a learner misreads a question and gives the wrong answer because they didn't check it again. So that is that. Now let us be on 1.5. 1.1.5. When deciding a career, when you are deciding a career, one should consider the following. A, personal qualities, employment opportunities, what your parents want you to do. B, personal strength, cool subjects, what friends are doing. C, personal strength, employment opportunity, personal interest. D, personal quality, salary, what your teacher say you must do. So the correct answer for that question of 1.15 is C. Correct answer there is C. C is personal strength, employment opportunities, personal interest. So choosing a career should be based on your abilities, what you enjoy, job availability, not pressure from others. So hope you understand. So let us be on 1.2, good people. 1.2 says give one word or term for each of the following descriptions. Write only word or term next to the question number 1.21 to 1.25 in the answer book. So 1.21, 1.21, it says an activity that you do before you start to do physical exercise. Activity that you do before you start activity, before you start to do physical exercise. So the one word term there will be warm up, will be a warm up. So your warm up, that is when you prepare the body before exercises to prevent injuries, guys. For example, you stretch your muscles before running. You take a light jogging before playing a sport. So that is why we are saying this will be a suitable word for that description. 1.22, visiting a workplace for a certain period of time to observe and take part in daily work activities in order to gain experience or insight into a career. So now we want a suitable word that will best suit there on that description. So that is when we are saying that is a job shouting. That is that is a job shouting. That is a job shadowing. So a job shadowing, that is when you observe professional to learn about a job. For example, if you follow a doctor during the work hours, you can also watch an engineer at a construction site with people. So that is a job shadowing. So 1.23, investigations complaints about how the government officials are doing their duties. So that one is a public protector. It is what public protector. So public protector, good people, a public protector, that is an official who investigates unfair treatment by government. For example, investigating corruption cases or even handling complaints about poor service delivery. So that is that. 1.24, how hard you needed to exercise to improve your cardiovascular endurance. So that one, that is when we're talking about intensity. So the suitable term there is intensity. With intensity, that is the level of effort used during physical activity. For example, you can sprint, that is high intensity. You can walk. The walking is a low intensity. So hope you are together on that. 1.25, a written document that people sign to show that they want a person or a organization to do or change something. So that is when we're talking about petition. That is when you're talking about petition. It's a written document that people sign to show that they want a person or organization to do or change something. It's a petition. That is a formal written request by people. For example, learners requesting school facilities, community protesting against poor delivery. That's a petition. That's a petition, good people. So now let us move on grade 11s and be on 1.3. Let us be on 1.3. So 1.3, as we are going to be on it, it says, answer the following questions by writing the answer next to the question numbers. That is 1.321 to 1.34 in the answer book, and write your answers in full sentences. Write your answers in full sentences. 1.31, without wasting much time, let's get to it. Provide 3 safety measures by which you should consider to ensure that you stay safe when playing games. You stay safe when playing games. So we have answers for that questions, and then let us be on those answers. So you can see these ones are the answers for question 1. Already we have talked about this. This one for 1.2 already we have talked about them. So now we are on 1.3, where you know very well that we are asked to provide 3 safety measures by which you should consider to ensure that you stay safe when you are playing a game. So the first one says wear appropriate clothing. Wear appropriate clothing for the activity to avoid injuries and disturbances. Meaning to say, you are going to prevent injuries as well as discomfort. So, for example, you can wear sports shoes. That is the appropriate clothing for that activity that you're going to do. And you can wear protective gear like helmets and stuff like that. Also, warming up before the activity. Warming up before the activity is also very important. Warming up before the activity, and also cooling down after the activity to avoid injuries. So now this is going to prevent a muscle strain, it's going to prevent a muscle strain. For example, you're going to stretch before the exercise, you're going to do a slow walking after activity. That is when you're cooling down after the activity. Hope we are together, good people. So also using apparatus correctly to avoid hitting yourself. So meaning to say use equipment correctly. Use equipment correctly so that you avoid accidents. So that you avoid accidents. Like using a gym machines properly, or you can hold sports equipment correctly. That's what we are trying to say. To try by all means to avoid accidents, good people. Also, participating a good behavior like listening attentively to instructions to avoid hitting yourself and others. Here we are talking about where you are to follow the instruction. That is a good behavior. This encourages safety of all players. Listening to your coach, for example, not pushing others. That is what we are trying to say. So we do understand that. So also, having updated first aid kit to use in case of emergency. So that as well will be very, very important, whereby you have a first aid. A first aid kit as well is a safety measure that you are going to use in case of the emergencies. When a player get injured, you have to quickly use those. You have to use the first aid to help. The size and surface of the play area should be large enough to avoid bumping into other learners. So make sure the ground, if you can say, is large enough. It's large enough so that we avoid the bumping or into other learners. Remove all dangerous objects from playing ground to avoid injuries. So make sure that the playground is very safe, that it can be used. If there are stones, there are sharp objects, make sure that you remove them before the play can start. Drink enough water in an hour before the exercise to avoid dehydration. Water is very important. That is that. Do not do not do vigorous exercises when you are having flu, as this will strain the lungs. So be aware of that. That you don't do vigorous exercises when you are having a flu. That will negatively affect you, and then that will put your lungs into problems. Start slowly to avoid putting strain on your body muscles. That is that. Know when to stop the exercise to avoid serious injuries to the muscles. So that is that on 3.1, 1.31. So 1.32 now. Let us be on 1.32. So 1.32 ask us to discuss how the goal setting skills could assist high school learners to achieve their required marks in an assessment. How goal setting skills. So here we're talking about the goal setting skills. How is it going to help to assist learners? Goal setting skill, how is it going to help to assist the learners to achieve the required marks? So let us quickly go to our answers. Here we are, as you know, we are on goal setting. How is going to help learners to achieve required marks in an assessment? So it says, have a specific marks to focus on. Have a specific marks to focus on, which keeps them motivated so that they can achieve those marks. So that is that. Meaning to say, we are saying focus on a specific goals. What we are trying to say is that focus on a specific goals. This is going to help learners motivated. For example, you are aiming to get 70% in a test. That is your goal that you're focusing on. So also you can set daily study targets, your own daily study targets. Also it says assess their progress towards their target marks, which could allow them to make adjustment as they go so that they reach their goal. So that they reach their goal. So meaning to say they must monitor and adjust the progress. So this is going to improve their performance by so doing. This is going to improve their performance because now they are going to, for example, review the test results, change study methods if marks are low. So that is how they are going to assess their progress towards their target marks. So that is that they are going to monitor and adjust the progress. So hope we are still on one page. Hope we are still on one page with 11s. Now let us go to 1.33. Here we are on 1.33. Advise grade 11's visual learners on a study strategy that would help them retain information for a content-heavy subject. 1.33. It's all about study strategy for visual learners. Study strategy for visual learners. Let us be on our answers, good people. Yeah, here we are to where we are asked to advise grade 11 on visual learners on study strategy that could help them retain information for content-heavy subject. So visual learners could make use of mind maps, which could organize, group the information in a way that would make it easier for their mind to remember. So here we are advised to use mind maps. as you know, mind maps organize information visually. Like you're going to draw diagrams of topics. You're going to link ideas with arrows. That is how you're going to make it. Use colors now. Use colors instead of nodes, which would then draw their eyes to the key information instead of the whole text. So here you have to use colors or images. So this improves memory. If you use colors and images, it's going to improve, um, like I've said, it's going to improve what memories. For example, we're going to highlight key points. You're going to draw pictures to represent the concepts. That is that. Incorporate pictures into their notes. Try to incorporate the pictures into their notes, which represent different parts of the information, so that they can visualize these pictures when they try to recall the specific information. Hope we are together, creative bits. Let us be on 1.34 and try to find what is the question demand us. So 1.34 is all about why is it good to avoid performance drugs? Why is it good to avoid performance drugs? So let us attend to it as well. So here we are on 1.34. Why is it good to avoid performance drugs? That is that. So as it says, drugs have many harmful side effects, which may cause some illness within one's body. So we are saying drugs do have harmful side effects. Drugs damage the body, we know very well. For example, you may find yourself having heart problems, liver damages like that. So that is that. So drugs may lead to disqualification in participating in professional sports. So you may be disqualified in professional sport. So disqualification in sport, that is where you are against the rules because of what? Drugs. So being banned from competitions, losing medals because of what? Drugs. So this is the end of total section B. This is the end of total section B. So now we are to attend to total section A. A. It is wrong to say B. It's supposed to be A. So now let us be on question 3 as section B. In fact, let us be on section B because this is total section A. It's wrong to say B. This is supposed to be A. So now let us be on section B. Let us be on section B. B, section B also is compulsory. It's a must attend question. This also a compulsory. So as we are going to read together the case study, as it says, question 2, answers should be in full sentences. Answers should be in full sentences. That is question 2. You read the case study below and answer the questions that follow. So this is about how climate change threatens Africans' food security. How climate change threatens Africa's food security. It says now changing weather patterns or extreme events such as floods or drought can have a negative consequences for agricultural production. As a result, people will have less access to food, which forces them to buy food products. This affects their financial situations and their well-being. It is also influences their health as people will most likely buy cheaper food products that are less nutritious. So they can then become chronically ill as a result of unhealthy food. So increasing temperatures The change in precipitation and the frequency of extreme weather spells also threaten Africa's food production systems. So, changes in a precipitation are not merely about increasing or decreasing rainfall, but rain seasons that begin later or earlier than normal, or sudden rain spells hitting a region when it is supposed to be dry and have a greater impact on crops, uh, failing, failing than a weather season that starts on time. Then it further on says, another serious situation is when a farming land is lost. This happens as a result of declining groundwater levels and rising sea levels. It can also lead to dryness of the soil or decreasing levels of salt. So it reduces the suitability of land for cultivation of crops. Another consequence is a climate change that affects food security, is the increasing frequency of extreme weather events such as floods, droughts, hail, and heat waves. So this can be fatal to crops. Apart from damaging crops, it can also damage infrastructure like roads, houses, and etc. So this may prevent people from getting their crops to the market. So climate change also leads to pest outbreaks that further weaken the food systems. So the fishing industry is also being threatened. Fish stocks in large lakes throughout Africa are declining, not only because of overfishing, but because of declining water levels due to evaporation as a result of rising temperatures. So this is a case study. So now we are to answer the questions now. As the first one says, 2.1, mention now 4 effects of climate change that influence food production in Africa. So we do have our answers that we can go through. This is our section B. Remember, we have said it's compulsory. So it says mention 4 effects of climate change that influences food production in Africa. Mention 4 effects of climate change. People will have less access to food. Less access to food. People will have less access to food, meaning food becomes scarce. Food becomes scarce. Example, crop failure, reduced harvest, and stuff like that. So this shows people have less access to food. Health of people will decline. As we have heard when we are reading the case study, the health of people will decline as well, will be affected. So, because people have access to food. So, what is going to happen to the health of the people? It shows that it's going to suffer. People will suffer financial difficulties. People will suffer financial difficulties. So, that will be the effects of climate change. Farming land will be lost. Loss of farming land. Land becomes unusable. Land becomes unusable. So floods are going to destroy the soil. We are going to have this certification again. So that is that when you are going to have a this certification. So that is that we are going to face as a problem. So also there will be a breakout of pest. That is because of a climate change. These are the challenges that you're going to face as you have seen them in the case study. There will be a breakout of pests, increased in pests, which are going to damage crops. You can talk of locust evasions, you can talk of crop diseases and stuff. Farmers may be experience, farmers may experience crops failure, reduce production now, because drought is going to kill crops, extreme heat damaging plants, and that the farmers are going to experience crop failures. A lot of infrastructure will be damaged. So a lot of what? A lot of infrastructure is going to be damaged. So that is that the roads and stuff. There will be a decline in the groundwater levels. There will be a decline in the groundwater levels, as you have seen that. There will be a decline in the fish stocks, as you have heard that it's not only because of overfishing, but because of the water levels that will cause a decline in the fish stocks. This is what we have heard in our case study. So could people let us be on 2.2. 2.2, we are asked to discuss how farming land can be lost due to climate change. How farming land can be lost due to climate change. So let's quickly attend to it. How farming land can be lost due to climate change. So it says when a climate change results in floods, arable land rich with needed agricultural nutrients is washed away, leading to a scarcity of food in the market. So we're talking about a flooding. The flooding is going to wash away fertile soil. So the heavy rains restoring farms, rivers overflowing into fields. So that is what you're going to experience. When there is no rain due to climate change, the land could be too dry for agricultural purposes. So if that happens, agriculture yields are affected and there would be less food in the market. There will be less food in the market. And this is going to be caused by the drought. We're going to face a drought and that which cries out the land. And for that matter, it means there will be no rainfall for long periods. Crops are going to die due to lack of water. Hope we are together. Also, it says continued drought may deplete the groundwater levels, so making it difficult for farmers to access this valuable resource, even though, even through, even through even through boreholes, even through boreholes. So that is that. And also, the soil becomes too dry and salty for farming. We heard that from our passage from our case that, and crops could not be produced as required. Crops are not going to be produced as required because of that salty as well as the dryness, because of that salty as well as the the dryness of the soil. So hope we are together on that. So let us go to 2.3. Let us go to 2.3. 2.3 is about to illustrate three ways how conditions caused by climate change may affect people's way of living. May affect people's way of living. That's what the question wants. So now we can now go to our answers now. So here we are on 2.3. 2.3. It says illustrate three ways how conditions caused by climate change may affect people's way of living. So if less food is produced, price will go up. And people will need to pay more for their basic food stocks. So that is that. So what we are trying to say is that there will be higher food prices. There will be higher food prices. So food is going to become expensive. So because, for example, if we are talking about the maize, the price for maize is going to increase. If we are to buy grocery, the price for grocery is going to be higher. So because of the less produce. Because of less produce. Less produce drives the prices high. So that is that. If the quality of the plowing land is affected, the quality of land is affected, people buy even things they would normally produce. So they are now going to buy what they can produce because of the plowing land now is affected now. They cannot plow now. So they will buy even things that they can produce by themselves. So you're talking about reduced production at home. So people depend on buying food now. So now families can no longer grow vegetables now. So they buy food instead of producing. You see, that's what you're saying. If plowing is done on a affected land, the yields will be affected, leading to wastages. Leading to wastages. So there will be a wastage because of the land that the plowing has taken place is affected. So the results will be affected, which is going to be the wastage. We'll be wasting on our fertilizers. So all those things because of the affected land. So the infrastructure that could be affected by turbulent weather patterns could cost a lot to repair. So here we're talking about damaged infrastructure, affects living conditions. We're talking about flooded homes, we're talking about damaged roads, that is that. Too much rain will cause floods that will result in the loss of lives and property. So if it's raining too much, now we are going to experience the floods, and the floods can take the life of people. And our properties now can as well be affected, our homes, because of the floods. So that is that. Can we be on 2.4 now? 2.4. So let us be on 2.4. So here is our 2.4. Suggest two practical strategies which the citizens can contribute to reduce climate changes. Now we're talking about strategies now, two practical strategies which the cities can use to reduce climate change. Now we are to reduce climate change. So that is that. Let us be on it now. 2.4. The first one is that suggest two practical strategies that citizens can contribute to reduce climate change. It says thrive efficiently. Thrive efficiently, because what we are trying to do is to save energy. So for us to do that, thrive efficiently, go easy on the gas and brakes, along with using the cruise control and regularly saving your car to make sure you have to service your car. Service your car to make sure that it's running more efficiently. It's running more efficiently. That will reduce pollution. So that is that. Check your tires. Check your tires. Low tire pressure can negatively affect your gas mileage. So that is why we are advised to check our tires. So if they have normal pressure, it will reduce fuel consumption. So that is that. Swap out meat heavy meals for vegetation. So swap out few meat heavy meals for vegetation, or the vegan recipes to help significantly reduce your environmental impact, as meat meals consumes a lot of fuel to prepare. So that is that. Take stock of your fridge regularly. So take stock of your fridge regularly. Create a grocery list beforehand and stick to it while shopping. So you don't overbuy or purchase things you don't need. Because now they will end up getting rotten, and then you're going to throw away, and then those will affect our climate. Beware of bulk. Beware of buying bulk. it may seem like a good deal, but you may not end up eating eating it all before it goes bad. So this helps in saving food and the environment. So be aware of buying in bulk because you may find yourself not eating all what you bought, and then they will get bad, and then you see, then they will affect our environment. Plan out your meals. Don't cook more than you can eat. Adapt recipes to your needs. So make sure that you don't cook more than you can eat. So that is that. Freeze your food if you are not using them soon. This extends the life of your food. This will help to save the environment as more food is saved. So saving food also save what? Environment. So freeze your food so that you don't let them to go decay, you don't let them to go rotten, and then if you just now throw it, you're going to harm the environment. Keep the temperature stable in your home. Turn down this heat. Use your food, or you keep the temperature, and then it says use a programmable or smart thermostat if you can, and keep the blinds closed. I also remember what your parents told you. Turn off lights, the appliances when you are not using them. Unplug if possible to reduce even more energy. To reduce even more energy. Also, stream moves through a smart TV, not your game console. Game consoles use about 10 times more electricity since they are not optimized to play films. So that is that. That is that. So this is the end of our question two. Now we are to attend to question three. Now we are to attend to question three. So let us be on question three. Question three is about read the article below and answer the questions that follow. Violence against women, VAW. Violence against women, that is VAW. So it says violence against women and girls is a serious problem in the country and in the world. At least one out of every three women around the world has been beaten and forced into sex or otherwise abused in their lifetime. So the abuser is usually someone known to be to the victim. So the situation is worsened by unequal power relations that subject women to abusive tendencies by men. So some men do not seem to realize that they are actually abusing women because of socialization and cultural biases. So that is that. So now the first question now, it says define, which is 3.1, unequal power relations. So we are to define unequal power relations. So here we are where we are to define unequal power relations. As it says, unequal power relations manifest themselves in situations where women's rights are violated because of the perceived power of men over women. In any relationship, it may result in domestic violence, rape, and even incest. So that is 3.1. That is 3.1. So we're talking about unequal power. Unequal power. So that's when you're talking about where one person has more control than another in a relationship, has more control than another in a relationship. For example, men controlling finances, women not allowed to make decisions. So that is that. So let us be on 3.2 now. Let us be on 3.2. 3.2 says Explain three reasons why some women do not report incidents of domestic violence. Three reasons why they are not reporting incidents of domestic violences. So that is that. Let us be on those answers. So here it is. Explain the reasons why some women do not report incidents for domestic violence. Here are our answers. Most women are dependent on men for their livelihood. So if they report such incidents, they risk losing their quality of life. So they do not report. They do not report because of financial dependence. They rely on abuser for survival. So they rely on abuser for survival. So they don't have income. So the dependence on partner for housing, for example. So most women are scared to report because of family pressure. So the issues are discussed by family and the victim is given a slap on the wrist. Fear threats. They are afraid of consequences. Fears of violence, fear of being harmed. So that is that. Some do not report such incident for the fear, like I've said, of embarrassment. They become scared to report those incidents for what people may say. So here they are ashamed, or we can talk of embarrassment, fear of judgment now. Fear of judgment. For example, the community gossip, feeling ashamed. That is what you're talking about. So, as we are moving on, some women are frightened by their perpetrators. They may indicate willingness and preparedness to kill should they report. Should they report? So, that is that. So, now let us attend to 3.3. Let us be on 3.3. Question. 3.3 says discuss how unequal power relations may lead to a rape or incest. Discuss how unequal power relations may lead to a rape or incest. So we are going to our answers for that question. 3.3. As we have said, we are to discuss how unequal power relations may lead to rape or incest. So our answers are the following. Men may have an opinion that they own women because of their positions in the families. Men may believe that marry a woman takes away her dignity and a sense of being a humanist, resulting in a forced sex. That is 3.3. Male dominance. So here we're talking about what? Male dominance. We are about male dominance. And where men feel they have control. For example, forcing decisions, controlling partners. So that is that. Also, it says some men are breadwinners, and the poor women are at the receiving end of that unfortunate situation. So that may give men a leverage to do as they please with women with the eventual effect that some are raped. So here we're talking about economic power, as we are saying, some men are breadwinners. So we're talking about economic power. Financial control leads to abuse. Financial control leads to abuse. So that is that. So also, some men care for their stepdaughters. They will do all sorts of favors that could expose the girl child to all sorts of abuse, including rape. Including rape. That is when you say some men care for their stepdaughters. You're talking about abuse of authority. So some men or women, for example, in fact, women would believe it is okay for men to have an upper hand. in the relationship as the heads of the family, and they may lead to rape. That is abuse of authority, sorry. This is where this applies. Abuse of authority, using position to exploit others. For example, a stepfather abusing a child or guardian taking advantage. So that is that. Children under the care of men may be exposed to rape and incest because men would use their power and position in the family to rape or commit incest. So the victims may play along to fear of being labeled names. So that is that. So let us be on 3.4. 3.4, which is the last question, critically discuss the role of certain cultural practices and beliefs in promotion of unequal power relations. So that is that. 3.4. So here we are on 3.4, where we are asked to discuss the role of certain cultural practices and beliefs in promotion of an uh, equal power in relations. So it says, once men pay lobola, some believe it gives them ownership rights, and women feelings and views are no longer important in the family. So that is that where we are talking about the male superiority beliefs. So men seen as more important now. Men wants to make all decisions. Then women are expected to obey because of men paid lobola now. They believe that this give them ownership rights. So you see, kids from families where male the chauvinism, that is excessive and prejudiced support of one's own cause or group of sex or sex is practiced and gets socialized and would do the same to their families. So that is that. And also they believe that women are submissive to men in a certain cultures, makes them weak and men can take advantage of that, leading to rape or incest. Some believe standing up against men is taboo, and that may lead to a banishment or rape that may never be reported as it is considered normal. So you see. So if a woman refuses to abide by the traditions, norms, and standards, she may be caused to pay for damages and etc. And that makes them susceptible to rape. So they believe that women should not work. Her role is to look after the family. Women in such position lose their rights as men would usually do everything, and that gives them leverage to exert their power of control and undue pressure on women. So the assignment of unimportant roles of women by certain cultures by giving less important duties and that make them subject to the men believe that men will do the most important and meaningful duties and women will depend on the men for those activities, which puts men at the upper level to women. So that is the end of this presentation for total, for section B, in fact. So make sure that you use this presentation as it's going to be very helpful for you to write your live orientation for this coming exam that you're going to write in June. Thank you very much.